want to welcome everybody to the CCL Hawaii monthly statewide meeting. This is June 18, 2025. I'm going to be the moderator for this evening's meeting with help from other people in the background, and in the foreground there, Paul Bernstein is going to be sharing a slide deck with us. And we might want to go to slide 1, Paul, if you can share that. Thank you. And I bet you can put it on presenter view.
How's that?
And there it is, full screen. Wonderful. So what we have here is a nice little slide deck of about less than about 20 slides. So in slide 2, we'll get to look at our agenda for this evening. We're going to do a fun little thing, connection before content, before we get into our full agenda. As we normally do, we'll discuss values, mission, policy, agenda, just to remind us of those good things. And of course, we have the honor of Mr. Bill Unruh from the Hawaii Climate Change Mitigation and Adaptation Committee, CCMAC for short. And Bill will give a presentation followed by Q&A. And then there'll be some national updates and actions, ending with some Hawaii updates, including media events and carbon cashback. So here's the deal. This weekend, we are going to have the longest day of the year, 2025, in the Northern Hemisphere. And the sun is as far north as it's going, and the daylight hours are as long as they're going to get. So the fun little thing is, if you look forward to this weekend, what things might you like to do on the longest day of the year? And I'm going to just stop sharing right here. How do I do that? Where's my stop? Oh, Paul's going to stop sharing. That's right. Thank you, Paul. So you could raise your hand, or you could put it in the chat. And somebody would like to go first and tell us what fun thing are they going to do on the longest day of the year. Okay, Virginia, you got it.
Well, I'm going to table at an electrification table that a CCL group sets up in front of the hardware store in Los Altos. Wow. I'm back in California.
And so is that the one on First Street?
Yeah.
Oh, very good.
Yeah. So Dave Kane, he's the mastermind there.
Is that his store?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, he just somehow he got permission from the owner, because I guess you could buy some electrification stuff right there in the store.
All right.
Yeah.
Anybody else? That's great, Virginia. That's an upper for sure.
People really want to talk. So, and I think I met Bill at a tabling. I saw his face. I'm like, I remember seeing you. We all had these tables, and yeah.
Right.
Can't remember the event, but
anybody else want to share?
Hopefully we'll have a very long soccer game on Saturday.
Okay. That'll be fun. Well, I'd like to get my one-man canoe down out in Hilo Bay and go for a nice long paddle out in the bay, look up at Mauna Kea. I always like to see the little white dots on the top of Mauna Kea. To me, they're very beautiful. And I appreciate seeing them up there, and maybe see Mauna Loa, and just appreciate the environment, and then come home and have something to eat, and probably a shower, and then a nice nap on the longest day of the year. That's what I'm going to do.
Hey, Ron.
Yes, Noel.
Yeah, this is Noel. So I have my camera off because I'm driving. But I would like to also share that on the longest day, probably going to hop on my riding mower, which, by the way, is electric, and I'm going to catch up on the artwork and maybe have a beer and take a nap.
There you go.
That
Well,
sounds
you've got a
nice.
good long day to do all that lawn, Noel. Good for you.
You guys aren't making very good use of the long daylight taking a nap. I'm not quite sure I understand that.
Yeah,
The
you've got
shortest
to.
day of the year, that makes more sense. But anyway.
You've got to do a lot of stuff, and then you take the siesta,
Okay.
and then
Yeah. You'll get to our age one of these days, hopefully, Paul.
It's not that. It's not that. I'm all for taking a nap. I just
Okay. Anybody else?
Oh, I'll probably have a Japanese tea ceremony with friends and have a meal afterwards.
All right. All right. Okay. So, moving right along, let's see what Paul's next slide brings up. So, let's see. This would be slide number 4, I believe. And who are we? Well, Bill, we are climate concerned volunteers organized into chapters across the US and around the world. And we develop respectful relationships starting from a place of respect, appreciation, and gratitude with our legislators. And we work to move their actions to passing bills that preserve a healthy climate and a livable world. And we do that nationally. And many of us volunteer and do that locally as well. So that's basically who we are. And the next slide, Paul, I think is a little more detail about our core values. And Ruth, would you please kindly speak to that?
Thank you, Ron. Well, you can read what's on the slide. I would like to just say a little bit more about the relationships of part of the core values. So of course, we had this huge protest or demonstration or whatever you'd like to call it, and the title was "No Kings" last weekend. We had that as a country. But listen to what CCL has to say about including protests. We take the most generous approach to other people as possible. Appreciation, gratitude, and respect. We listen, we work to find common ground, and we endeavor to understand our own biases. We are honest and firm. We know that there is a place for protest, but our approach is to build consensus, which we believe will bring enduring change. That's why elected officials and their staff, no matter what their politics, say they are happy to see us and mean it. So many of us, of course, took part in the protest last weekend as individuals, but the Citizens Climate Lobby did not participate as an organization. So thank you very much. And we'll move on to Keith.
Yeah, and let me just add, Ruth, that for Bill's benefit and our own, CCL is a nonpartisan organization, and the protests were fairly partisan. So that was the prime reason why we did not have a table there. We showed up as individuals to support the protests, but not as an organization. And our approach is we welcome everyone who wants to work to enable effective climate legislation, and we seek common ground among those with differing political opinions. Is that always easy? No, but that's our goal and what our founder, and the organization helps us achieve. So, Keith, please, thanks for letting me have that little comment, and go ahead.
Yes. So CCL's mission is to create the political will for a vibrant, livable world. And how we do that is by empowering individuals to experience breakthroughs in exercising their personal and political power.
Very good. And let me just also add that can be a volunteer full-time post-retirement job. Or it could be as easy as perhaps 5 or 10 minutes once a month, sending an email to Congress, which can be hugely effective in supporting what they do and encouraging them to do more than what they should do. So the next slide would have our policy agenda. So there are 4 squares here. On the upper left, we have what's generically known as carbon fee and dividend, a fee paid by the fossil fuel companies, revenue returned to Americans across the country on an equal basis, and a tariff on the imports of dirty products, and a credit for the export of clean products. That's carbon fee and dividend. We do not have a bill in this current Congress, and we do not expect one to be introduced, unfortunately. Bill to do that has been introduced in the last 3 Congresses, beginning in December of 2018. In the absence of our number 1 priority, carbon fee and dividend, CCL has chosen 3 other very significant areas to lobby for and hopefully gain bipartisan support: electrification, buildings, industry, ground transportation. And the more we can electrify, the more we have good, clean paying, good, clean careers, lower utility electric costs, and less fossil fuel burning, which is the underlying problem that the world faces today, or one of them, let me say. Healthy forests, we need to do what needs to be done. And there's a lot that should and could be done to protect our forests from devastating wildfires. And then the last one is clean energy permitting reform. We've got to build more clean energy supplies, and we've got to be able to transmit them from where they're created to where the demand is. And decades long of permitting and legal challenges needs to be improved so that we can approve good projects much more quickly, and we can decline bad projects much more quickly. Permitting reform does not have a bill right now, but it's expected to be introduced after the work on budget reconciliation is completed. So that's our policy agenda. And here we are. Bill leads the effort to engage with communities to build a comprehensive climate action plan, and many years of experience. So Bill, thank you for being here, and the floor is yours.
Aloha, everyone. Thank you for letting me come speak to you guys today. I really appreciate the invitation. So yeah, a little bit about myself. I've been here in Hawaii for a little bit over 30 years now. I moved shortly out here after I had received a bachelor's degree and a master's degree on the mainland. I grew up in Kansas. My dad was a science teacher, so I always had an interaction with lots of animals and the natural environment and things like that. So I guess I kind of grew up having a interest because of my dad and being a science teacher and everything. So anyway, I wear many hats. I not only do I work for CCMAC, but during the winter months, I'm the lead naturalist on a whale watch boat. So I interact with tourists, but all kinds of locals too. So I kind of set up a good educational program on a whale watch boat here off Oahu as the lead naturalist. But I've been working on boats for over 25 years now, so I kind of love the ocean a little bit. And I love your long day for a Saturday, going out on your one man. If the winds are right here this weekend, I like to go out kayaking off Waikiki. I go out kayaking frequently. My kids kind of grew up on the ocean, so we go out see humpback whales and dolphins just offshore here, and Hawaiian monk seals, all kinds of cool stuff out there. So gotta love the environment. I'm reminded of my best summer solstice experience was in the 90s. My wife and I, before having kids, we were in Peru and we hiked the Inca Trail to Machu Picchu. And, you do the Andes Mountains hikes over 2 mountain passes over 14,000 feet. But the last morning we had to get up like 3 in the morning because we made it to Machu Picchu just in time to watch the sunrise on the House of the Sun inside of Machu Picchu. And on summer solstice, this granite house that they made, the sun comes right through the window, and there's no shadow on this big boulder that they have formed in the middle, and they have it cut at an angle. On the summer solstice, there's no shadow. So, it's great how these ancient civilizations knew already these things, and we can still learn so much from them, from these ancient civilizations, but also our indigenous peoples that we have here in Hawaii and around the world. They've learned how to adapt to the environment and live with it, and we've lost a bit of that over the years, and so we kind of need to get back into taking care of our aina, our natural environment, better. So that's a lot of what CCMAC does, is we kind of work with our natural, we encourage getting back to our natural environment and our ahupua'a systems, and taking care of the lands better. I have a slide here. Paul, do you have that slide, or should I share my screen?
You can share your screen.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, Bill. And I'll also put the slide in the chat here. Put a link to it.
Let me get that slide up. Hold on a second here. So I didn't want to do a big slideshow. Instead, I thought I would just, this is kind of our outreach poster that we have made, that we go to events. And I do remember seeing you, Virginia, at one of those outreach events. But yeah, so we do all kinds of outreach throughout the islands. In the last year, we've done about 80 some odd events, and that doesn't even include like meetings like this right now with you guys. And but those are actually events where we've tabled at over the last year. So we've interacted with thousands of people, and we're developing our climate action plan. You guys probably already know about the State Climate Commission. It was formulated back in 2017, and by an act of the state legislation, and because climate change is impacting Hawaii more so than probably any other state, with sea level rise and loss of native forests. So this education poster, we go out to the community, and it's available online for anybody to look at. But if you look on the left side right there, you can see how our temperatures have already come up just 2.5 degrees. Our sea levels have come up about 10 inches, and that's documented there at Hilo Bay, where you were at, Ronald, there. And then and they say our sea levels are going to keep coming up, potentially up to 6 to 8 more feet by 2100, with the melting of all our polar ice caps and things like that. We've had also just consistent decline in rainfall the past 30 years, and we've lost about 1.5 million acres of our native forests. And when sugar came in, we had all the sugar cane on there up around Lahaina and everything. But when sugar cane went out, Landowners let the land go fallow. All these invasive species came in, California grasses whatsoever, and it's not good. I mean, it was just a big tinderbox. Things weren't taken care of. So I was speaking to someone that lived in Puna on the Big Island, and he was telling me when it started, development started coming in Puna area, and people started clearing the land, and he could see the clouds would be lifted whenever they cleared the land. The clouds lifted from that area, and there was no more really clouds formulating in that area. And so he was watching that human influence live as it was happening. So these are impacts from us human beings, obviously. And then when we do have storms, we're having bigger floods happening. And then, of course, our sea temperatures, they're increasing too. And also our oceans are more acidic. They're about 30% more acidic. And then our trade wind patterns too. A lot of people don't realize this, but our trade wind patterns, because I've been working on the ocean for over 25 years, and I like to go out and kayak, I've really noticed the trade wind patterns. So this weekend it's calling for the winds from the east. The trade winds used to be traditionally from the northeast. Have shifted from the northeast to the east northeast mostly now, and that brings in drier conditions. But also the trade wind patterns have decreased too. There's not as strong as trade winds, and so all of that is just everything's just kind of compounding on top of each other. So on that left side of the poster are just some of the climate impacts that we have listed there, and then you follow those arrows and how they're impacting each one of us. We're having higher energy bills, getting hotter outside, we're having more health related illnesses. The Department of Health they had to develop all kinds of tips how to stay cool, and so they have people that work on those things. And then we're having more inland flooding. My friend, he parked his car over by U-Haul in Mapunapuna, and it didn't even rain that day. And it was a convertible BMW. When he came back at the end of the day, because he'd rented a truck from U-Haul, his car was flooded because the sea levels, there was king tides, the sea level came up through the storm drain. And it didn't even rain that day. So that's just kind of crazy that we haven't. And I was in Waikiki this last weekend, and the waves are hitting outside of the Monkey Pod restaurant. It used to be the Shorebird, but the waves are hitting the rock, the foundation of that building right now. UH is also monitoring in Waikiki groundwater that's getting underneath a lot of the buildings in Waikiki. There's wells in Waikiki that UH monitors that, and so there's a lot of infrastructure underneath those buildings, piping and electrical things like that. So that's going to have an effect. People don't realize that the saltwater ocean is coming underneath, not just on the beaches. So. And we are having, loss of our native species. We've hosted some film events with this organization called Birds Not Mosquitoes, and there was a wonderful documentary you can watch online. It's on YouTube if you want to watch it, called Vanishing Voices. My friend made it. It's about 30 minutes long, but it's about losing you'll cry during that 30 minutes. I've cried every time I watched it. I watched it like 6 times already. But it's about losing our native birds because the temperatures are increasing going up mountain, and that's mosquitoes are going up, and they have avian malaria that the native birds aren't immune to. So that's killing our native bird population. But we're just having all of these impacts. You guys have probably heard about the majority of these things I'm mentioning. But we here in Hawaii, we the whole Hawaiian island chain is over 1,200 miles long, and we collect over 200 tons of plastic waste and derelict fishing gear off the shores every year. And about 150 tons of that alone is from the northwestern Hawaiian Islands. So our shores are just getting inundated. Luckily, we have a lot of organizations out there. Surf Rider, Ho'omalo Kekai, and there's a UH and the HPU have a team that they got together to also process that. And NOAA also cleans up the northwestern Hawaiian Islands. But so we have all these things happening, and our biggest problem we've done, not with all these impacts taking away our native forests and everything, but our biggest influence is burning our fossil fuels, and you guys already know that. NOAA just released, on Mauna Loa on the Big Island is the NOAA Observatory. They've been monitoring the air quality since 1958. They have the longest recorded history, and let's hope this keeps going with this current administration that has not taken away. But a couple of years ago, the volcano, when Mauna Loa erupted, it took out 2 miles of that road. So luckily, a previous department I worked in, they had a telescope up there, so they're able to get some solar up there and keep their telescope running, as well as the NOAA observatory running. They have to fly it by helicopter when they want to go up to those observatories to do any maintenance, though. But they've been recording our greenhouse gases since 1958, and right now we're at 430 parts per million for the carbon, and that's the highest it's ever been in recorded history, and they say that's probably the highest for millions of years. Obviously, you guys know that probably the safest would be, and then the best would be about 350 parts per million. We wouldn't be melting our ice caps and trapping as much heat. And so anyway, so the lower part of our poster there talks about the goals that the state has. We want to be by 2045. We want to be carbon neutral, and it's just not the state; it's all the counties. So the State Climate Commission is made up of all of the counties as well, which is great. That we are all in this together, and everybody believes in climate change, and that. We're working towards this goal. Hawaii is doing the best in using renewable energies. Right now, they're about 55% of the island is on renewables, such as mostly solar. They did kind of have a good plan to bring that up quite a bit, but that was using some of the water sources, and that got poo-pooed, that got shot down. So now they are rethinking how they are going to achieve 100%. So they're working hard on it, but their co-op has been quite successful in bringing good energy on with their battery systems. And also they just within the last year, they tweaked their inverters so they could even get more electricity out of their system. So they're learning with all the systems they have and making improvements. But with Hawaii, we may not be able to get to 100% carbon neutral just by renewable energy, and that means we might have to sequester more carbon, such as getting replanting native forests, things like that, bringing down the pulling carbon out of the atmosphere and sequestering that way. Some of the actions that we have going on, like we're trying to restore our watersheds, and like one of the state's goals is to restore 30% of the watersheds by 2030, and I believe they're already at like 21 or 22% restoration. So there's some great things happening there to preserve our watersheds for our drinking water. We all know that some things happen though that were beyond our control, such as the Red Hill situation, but that's getting hopefully rectified. But other state and county actions, working on electrifying their fleets. I don't know any specific numbers on some of these things, but I know that a number of the counties are working on that. Here in Honolulu, you can see the bus has been bringing on more and more electric buses, which is fabulous. There was also the HGIA solar loans, but that program I believe right now is paused because federal funding. Some of those funds were taken away, unfortunately. But here in Honolulu, they've been working on other things such as, putting in better bike lanes in certain areas, especially towards downtown, which is great. We've partnered with Hawaii Bicycling League on a number of things, and they are such a great organization with the things that they do and promoting and bike safety and classes for kids and everything else. So, and then of course we want to promote more local food production. Right now, about 85% of our food is brought in, and so we need to be producing more of our food locally, and to be more sustainable. Obviously, we have the energy efficiency incentives through like Hawaiʻi Energy. KIUC on Kauai also has very similar programs. And then we're working on restoration of reefs. There's a number of programs out there that are doing some coral nurseries, lemur nurseries, and there's several NGOs that are restoring reefs, such as Manalua Bay initiative, and there's just some great orgs that are out there to volunteer. So we kind of help amplify those things that are happening across the islands. I'll put in the chat here shortly some of the ways we're doing that. And then on the far right of the poster are things that we encourage people to do on their own at home, such as simple things like turning off their lights, using low flow water shower heads. And my kids, they grew up, not only did we have a low flow shower head, we also had a little valve we'd shut off. Taught our kids to turn on the shower, get wet, then flip that valve, and it just leaves a little trickle to maintain the temperature. Then you soap up, and then you turn it on and you rinse off. Because of the boats I worked on and over the years, water was always an issue, and it's called a military shower. So, there's ways you can kind of take it a further step. Anyway, but that's how I kind of learned that on the boats I was working on. So we taught our kids to do the same thing. But so on the far right of the poster, you can just see all the things that we try to educate the public of things how they can do to lessen their footprint. Walking more, riding bikes more, getting electric vehicles, eat healthier food options that are locally grown, vegetables, fruits and vegetables, and switching all your lights out to LEDs, things like that. Over the years, I've participated in some of the previous jobs I've had. I did those programs with Hawaiʻi Energy and saved a lot of money. My daughter, when she was in a ballet group here, I became their handyman, fixing all kinds of stuff for them, and I noticed that all their lights were going out in their ballet studios. So I got them to do one of the Hawaiʻi Energy programs, and then I went in myself, my wife and I, at night. We went in, I took out all the lights and switched them all out to LEDs. I even had to change out the ballast and everything, and change their electrical usage down to a quarter of what was before, and the lighting was so much better. So there's just these things that you can do, and the ballet place was so much happier because then they got all their money back that they spent on the ballasts and the light bulbs, things like that. Down in the far right corner there of that poster is something else that I wanted to mention. Using a mineral-based sunscreen. It's so important to encourage, because our coral reefs have been impacted so much by us human beings using the oxybenzone and things like that. And you guys probably know that there's a ban here in Hawaii now because it kills the reefs, that you can't buy that here. People can bring it in, though, when they're flying in because they may not know about it. But that ban actually started over in Kaneohe. Kailua Kona at Kahalu Bay there. That initiative was a grassroots initiative started there, and there's a wonderful film you can watch. I believe it's still on PBS Hawaii. We hosted that as one of our film series that we showed here in Honolulu, and the film is called Keeper of the Bay. But it's a beautiful film about grassroots efforts, and they started the whole ban on using the non-mineral based sunblock because it was killing the coral reefs over there. And that film also touches upon about cesspools and things like that. Anyway,
yes, Auntie Cindy's that was one of her projects, her loves.
Oh yeah. Auntie Cindy, she we tried to get her to come over for our film event, but she couldn't make it. She was having a surgery or something. But so it was what a great film. So yeah, if you guys haven't had a chance, I'd encourage you to watch it. And so that's we work behind the scenes. The State Climate Commission is made up of, like I mentioned before, the counties and the state departments, like Hawaii State Energy Office. So they have like a rep that everybody serves on the commission. There's actually only one full-time employee as the climate coordinator, and her name is Leah Laramie. And Leah and the state worked and got some EPA funds a few years ago, which is funding 4 people right now. There's myself and Jennifer Vanderveer on. She's on Maui. She specializes in grants, and so I'll put a link in the chat to our grants page here in a minute. And then also we have Udi, who's managing our grant. He's in Hilo, and then there's Jonathan Lance, and he works in equity and climate justice. So all 4 of us are on EPA funds, and this new administration has frozen our funds a couple of times, and but luckily the state was really active in stopping that. They filed lawsuits, and every time a judge has come back and said, no, these are congressional approved funds, appropriated funds. You need to keep paying out those funds, and so we're able to keep doing the outreach and the education we're doing now. And one of the things that we've been working on the last year and a half is developing a climate action plan for the state of Hawaii. Some of you might have already given input because we had an online feedback form, and we've attended, like I said, over 80 different tabling events, and so we were getting community feedback. We received almost 700 comments for the climate action plan, as well as we had a number of focus groups that met on a regular basis, and we're getting close to having a draft plan come out in about a month, and then I will be emailing everyone because we're going to put it online. There's a format you pay for called Consider It, where people can review that and then give input. And so hopefully in about a month we'll be sending out an email. It's going to come out in our newsletter too, probably in August newsletter, and we're going to be seeking public input for our climate action plan. Now, all of the counties, they've also developed their own climate action plan for their individual islands. So they're all working on that as well. And but we're getting close to getting a draft of our plan out, and we'll be notifying you guys. So anyway, I should probably leave a little time for questions. Do you have any questions about this poster or anything yet, or anything I talked about?
Well, it's a wonderful poster, Bill. Thank you so much. And we know I know it's on the website because prior to the meeting, I tried to do a little background, and that's just terrific. So thank you very much for that. And the comment that I might have is I want to thank you for your presentation here, and I also want to thank you and CMAC for the support that you've given a priority, our number one priority, which is carbon pollution pricing. so that we can reduce our fossil fuel burning. And you've done that through a priority mitigation statement on your website, and you've testified to the legislature in favor of the efficacy of making it more expensive to pollute. So thank you for that. Any questions? Anybody, please?
Not so much a question, but the voting comments about judiciously using your resources, especially if they're limited. I did a lot of boating in the Puget Sound area. What we would do is jump into the ocean, climb back onto the boat, soap up with nice biodegradable soap, and jump back in, and then climb back out on deck. And we would have these solar bags. They're black and they heat up in the sun, and we'd just rinse the salt out of our hair rather, and that really made just a long boating trip really wonderful.
Yeah. One of the boats I worked on for quite a few years, we took middle school and high school students from Oahu over to Maui and Lanai and stuff. And, we would get water at shore whenever the boat would pull up, but also we had our own water makers on board with the reverse osmosis. And those things have so many filters and everything else. But so we were really on all the kids to take a military shower. We would do little tutorials with them, showing that valve and everything else. And water is such a resource a lot of people don't even really think about. They'll take super long hot showers, and you can. I like how you would jump in the water, and the water is probably a little colder there.
It is bracing.
Yeah.
So, Bill, I think we've got your email, which we can share among those that are with us tonight, and we can share with the wider group. We will share this recording. So to move on right now, if we can, with some of the other items on our agenda, I think would be very good. Before we do that,
could I mention real quick? If I could mention real quick,
yeah. So go ahead.
Go ahead, Virginia.
Well, I had one question about the poster.
Yeah.
I just wondered how you used it, and then what parts of it people found the most interesting. And then did you have everybody fill that part in about what is your vision for the future?
Thank you for asking that. Yeah, thank you for asking that. So the poster was 3 feet tall by 4 feet wide. And so at our tabling events, we had it on a big cardboard backing. And so we sometimes the table events were a little too windy, it would blow down. But in that middle portion, what your ideal Hawaiʻi would be, we had Post-it notes there, and people would write on Post-it notes, and then we'd stick it on there. And then also another game that we had at our tabling events is we had a Jenga game, and we made up a climate change Jenga, in that people would draw a card, and we talk about all the impacts that we're already experiencing here in Hawaii. And so the Jenga game represented our climate, and if you had too many impacts on your climate, it could collapse. So whenever they took out a Jenga block, that was an impact that they had, and eventually it would collapse. And so it was kind of seeing it right there, how it's happening. So we also we've been to schools and used the Jenga game, and also our poster and things like that. And a lot of the teachers really love the poster because it's kind of, it kind of has some nice graphics on it, showing them the students, and so teachers are using it across the islands. Some were, some weren't. The DOE here does not have an established curriculum, And that's one of the things we would love to see is an established curriculum on climate change. And so there's really no standard. It's up to the teacher what they want to teach regarding climate change. So we've held quite a few behind the scenes meetings trying to move the ball forward on that issue. I did want to mention in the chat there, I put in a link to our events page. If you guys are ever aware of any events that are happening across the islands that are sustainability, conservation, climate change, environmental related, please let me know. I search out a bunch of websites several times a week to put this calendar of events together. It doesn't list music events or anything like that. This is all about also cultural events we'll put on there too. So check out that. Also, I put in there a link to our monthly newsletter summaries. If you're not on our mailing list already, you can send me an email, or Paul can send me an email with your emails, and we put out a monthly newsletter about things that are happening here in Hawaii. And at the very bottom too, I've started searching out more and more because we've had a lot of people in the state lose their jobs with the federal changes the last few months. So we have a job section, green job section, I should say. So then at the bottom of our newsletter, I work pretty hard on finding green jobs too. And then the last link I put in there in the chat is our grants to projects bridge. We have somebody on staff that looks for grants related to conservation, sustainability, things like that. And there's a form online groups can fill out. Grants are really hard to find right now because of all the changes, but we do have that available too. So I just wanted to mention those things real quick.
Thanks,
Excellent, Bill. Very, very good. Any other questions? Yeah, I'd like to follow up, Bill, maybe after the meeting regarding grant writing. I'm glad you mentioned that you have a grant writer. I think we might have some worthy ideas that could use funding. So hope to be in touch after the meeting. So let's see.
Yeah. Well, she tries to find funds to match those grants. So it all depends if there's any availability of funds out there. But yeah, definitely email me or look at that link I sent.
Okay, we will do. And it'd be nice if you have time, Bill, to stay on for just till we get to the top of the hour here at 6 o'clock. But thank you so much for your presentation. And if your schedule requires you to leave, you're certainly free to do that. And you're also welcome to stay.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, I'll watch. Thank you.
Great. So let's see, national highlights, things that are going on here. Let me try to find where my notes are on that. Basically, the national highlights are best accessed via this recording, which is on the slide. And it's the recording of June 14th, just last Saturday, and Dana Nucitelli and others from Citizens Climate Lobby basically explain the overview of where CCL is. And as it says on the slide, we have a new interim executive director, Ricky Bradley, beginning mid-July. There's a review of the hugely important budget reconciliation process, and CCL's role in that is not to support the bill. Our role has been decided as to just defend the tax credit provisions in that bill because they are hugely effective. And H.R. 1 is the bill that the House passed. The Senate is now grappling with their version of reconciliation. And just on Monday, the Senate Finance Committee came out with their markup of the area of concern for the Finance Committee is taxes, which includes clean energy tax credits. And there is there is excellent information on that. You can take action. cclusa.org, Get Loud will allow you to we'll send a message to Republicans regarding your support for clean energy tax credits. Yeah, thanks, Paul. The tax credits are huge, and the bill that have been introduced will remove a majority of them. After 6 months of passage of the act, they'll be gone. So if you want to buy a new EV and get the tax credit, start shopping now. So getting back to the goals that the priorities that CCL has, Fix Our Forest Act is a bill that CCL supports. This is a hot link right here, and in the chat, Paul will put a link to this slide deck, and that hot link will take you to information about the Fix Our Forests. This will take you to the information about putting a tariff at our border on dirty carbon-intensive products. And this one here will give you background on why and how permitting reform can be introduced in a bipartisan fashion. It's not yet a bill in the Senate or the House. However, it's expected after they get through budget reconciliation, and there is no guarantee that this Congress will be able to pass the budget reconciliation bill. And what happens then in terms of funding the government and other things, oh boy, yet to be determined towards the end of the year. So this is our summer conference, July 22nd, and the contact, if you would like to be part, firstly, let me say, if you're going to be near Washington, D.C., and you would like to be part of Citizens Climate National Lobby Day, I think there's already close to 700 CCL volunteers from around the country attending that conference. And Lobby Day, it's at the Omni Hotel in Washington, D.C. If you are able to be there in person, that is one of the most effective things you can do. We will try to have hybrid meetings. So we know right now Paul and 2 other Hawaii constituents will be there in person, and there will be hopefully hybrid Zoom meetings where the 3 Hawaii constituents will be present, and some of us from Hawaii who would like to attend can do so virtually via Zoom. So if you would like to take some training, learn about our primary ask and our secondary asks, and how to do that in a respectful manner, please put your email in the chat or contact Paul Bernstein. And then for Hawaii updates, Paul, I hand it over to you.
Okay, thanks, Ron. So on terms of Climate Future Forum, we're obviously hoping that, Bill, you will be participating again, that they don't do anything terrible with funding. We definitely appreciated that last year. So right now, kind of recruiting adult mentors and students to lead the, student leaders for the effort. Also, another initiative, collaborating with Hawaii Green Growth, trying to work with them on adding some metrics that look at, or kind of show our overdependence on fossil fuels and what's going on with our emissions, show it a little, show a richer picture than what exists right now on the Aloha Plus Challenge. I think, Ron, you're kind of leading a lot of that effort. And then with Carbon Cashback, just encourage folks who don't necessarily join regularly our weekly meeting as we look to somewhat mirror what Citizens Climate Lobby has done in expanding the set of policies we want to support. So thanks to Doug, we've been going around talking to legislators, getting a sense of what they are looking at when it comes to greenhouse gas emission reductions, and using that input as well as what our group would like to do to come up kind of with this expanded set of policies that will be supporting in the 2026 legislative session. And Keith, I don't know if you want to say anything about geothermal rising or.
Sure.
Okay.
Geothermal Rising is a industry advocacy organization for geothermal development. They had their international conference down here in October here at Waikoloa Beach. I also participate with that organization along with CCL, which is earlier this year we had a Geothermal Rising / CCL webinar. And I've put the link to that and the slides in the chat. I'll just say Hawaii, along with Dominica and the Azores and the Canary Islands, we could definitely use the firm, clean geothermal power. All of us know about Iceland. We just need to develop it here, and it'll help us.
Thanks,
Anyway.
Keith. Virginia, do you want to talk about media? I'll put a link in.
Sure. Well, there was a letter in today's Star Advertiser, and I did this slide last week. But it was the very first letter, so we think the Star Advertiser liked it also. And it was in support of the governor's intent to veto the HB 796 that would phase out the tax credits for clean energy. And he opposed that, and we were supporting him in that. And then on the 10th of June, we had we had a letter and we had an editorial on the same day. And the Island Voices editorial on. Oh, thank you, Paul. So Paul put the link. So if you go to the link, it has all of the media that we've had published, and you can read the full editorial and the full letters of everything we've ever had published. So it was a really good editorial showing how important it is right now to secure our energy security and our food security. And it went into detail. And then the action item for the legislature is to take strong action. And we felt like they hadn't taken very strong action this year, so we're encouraging them to take stronger action in the next legislative session. And then Tom wrote a letter about how the green fee passing was great, but we need to do more because the green fee focuses on adaptation, but doesn't do anything to reduce the emissions.
Thanks, Virginia.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, sorry.
I was going to say, and that's our media for June.
Yeah. Hi,
Thanks,
Paul. Yeah, Noel here. Sorry, I'm now in a place where there's better connection. So sorry to miss part of the meeting. And Bill, thanks very much for your presentation. On the 27th, I believe it's the Friday, from 12 to 1, Hawaii EV is hosting a webinar with the Department of Transportation's Hawaii Road Usage Charge Program Manager. This is essentially a new fee for driving an electric vehicle to allow for the contribution to the road infrastructure. So anyway, on hawaiiev.org, we have a link to events, and the link to the webinar is on that page. So just wanted to plug that activity.
Thanks, Noel. So I'll just keep going, Ron, with the quickly here. So Bill, here's a, just so you're not bored and have an activity to do if you'd like. We're looking for as many endorsers as we can for carbon cashback. So putting a price on fossil fuels through the barrel tax and giving all the money back to households. If you feel so inclined, feel free to go to the link that's in the chat and put your name there. So far, we're just in the process of collecting names and waiting to figure out how best to kind of use the list to promote the policy. So, and feel free to share the link with, family, friends, and as many people as you'd like. So, and then in terms of the carbon cashback group, I think everybody pretty much knows that. General meetings on Monday. We got media on Tuesdays, the second and fourth Thursdays, and we got the legislative also every Thursday. And then we have outreach on the first and second Thursday. So the media outreach are at 10 o'clock on Thursday, and the legislatives at 2 o'clock on Thursday. So if anybody has any questions, wants to attend these, please feel free to email me. And I think the last thing here is to log our attendance.
And Paul, are you able to put that link in the chat again, please?
I am more than happy to put that in the chat.
And so what happens here, Bill, is when a CCL clicks that link, it automatically logs our attendance so that CCL National knows how active we are here in Hawaii. And this slide here is a link to some of the various important items that we covered fairly quickly tonight. But the comment in brackets is also important. If you go to the chat and look for 3 dots somewhere, could be up at the top right corner or somewhere down at the bottom, you'll get a little pop-up box, and the leading item in that pop-up is save the chat. And encourage everybody to do that. And I want to thank you very much, Bill, and everyone for attending. Let's see, we will share the recording, and that link, Paul, I think is also in the chat. Is that true? I think it is. Yeah,
okay.
I think it is.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, I think it's there. So thank you again, Bill, very much for all the work you're doing. We're allies for sure. And if there's any way we can help you, and you gave us some ideas about letting you know when events are coming, we'll try to remember to do that. And we're here on the same page as you and CC So as they say, imua kako, and thank you for being here tonight. Have a great rest of your evening. If anybody wants to stay on as I stop the recording, if I can find how to do that, there's a place where you do that. How do we do that, team? Pause recording or stop recording. There it is. Okay, thank you all.
Thanks, Ron. Thanks for
Thanks, Bill.
Appreciate it.
Okay, aloha.